The post-T session with the presentation by Dr. Sharavanan Raju, Senior Scientist, CMFRA. Will be speaking on jellyfish fisheries.
Dr. Saravanan Raju has a very long career both in the administration and as a researcher also. He was working with MS Swaminathan Research Foundation earlier. Then he was working as an assistant director at MPEDA. Then later he joined in CMFRA, ICS CMFRA in 2009. Now he is a leading researcher of the jellyfish fishery and other research in CMFRA, also in India also. So he has a project which is continuing right from 2017, and he's acting as a principal investigator of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Srinath, for wonderful introduction. And I thank my director and the co-organizer of this program for providing me opportunity to present some of the observations which we have carried out since 2017 along the Indian coastline. And this topic, jellyfish fisheries, unveiling the economic and social implications of a rising marine resource. And this has two sides, as you know, the direct and indirect effect of a jellyfish swarming. And the direct effect is net clogging in fishing, catch deterioration, and the fishing time, increased fishing time, because naturally when jellyfish infested water fishing, if carried out, the net will be clogged and taking away the catch. The important varieties, sorting it out will take a lot of time. And as well, the drag, which will be more and increases the fuel consumption of the fishing operation. So all these are some of the problems fishing fleets face in India during jellyfish full bloom conditions. Sometimes they will cut away the nets to throw the jellyfish laden in the net. And indirect effects, if we see, it has an ecological effect like predation on eggs and larvae. And so that definitely would alter the recruitment cycle in the fish population of commercial as well as non-commercial, whatever it is. So we are bothered about the total ecosystems, either commercial or non-commercial, all are important in the ecosystem. So it impair the recruitment of all organisms and exclude competition, especially with the juvenile fish. And as well crustacean planktonic. Actually, even I have personally come across during heavy bloom conditions, even planktonic collection itself is somewhat difficult, and the fishermen even used to say that there is no fish in the sea conditions also we directly faced. And when we comparatively analyze the jellyfish interference faced by the fisherman, and they have given the mean score mostly for reduced the fish catch. That point was given more points, and after that the increased sorting time was the biggest problem for them. After that, change of fishing ground, because if there is a jellyfish infested water, so they needed to change the fishing ground, but unfortunately that new area may not be a fishing ground that would offer good catch. So because of all these reasons, that interference, the negative interference only mainly emphasized by the fishermen, and the jellyfish stings has been given only 2.49 points, mean points. If we have analyzed the perception analysis, actually that earlier analysis was carried out in a actually, as we have 9 maritime states, and this work was carried out in important states where fishery is operational, and one was in Andhra Pradesh and another was in Gujarat. And when you look at the Gujarat scenario, perception analysis shows that nearly 28% people say, fisher people say that the overfishing was the main cause for the jellyfish swarming in the coast waters, and 24% say about the eutrophication conditions, and only 10% says the translocation and habitat modification, because nowadays seawall constructions and shoreline protection activities are everywhere along the Indian coastline on the east and west coast. So that habitat provides ample opportunity for the jellyfish polyp to settle and grow, and such modifications also can increase the jellyfish bloom, and that has also been understood by the fishermen, and 11% of the people said about the habitat modification. And climate change, about 25% people perceived that climate change is also one of the reason for increased jellyfish swarm along the Indian coastline. These are all some of the perception analysis which we have carried out in our work in various parts of our country. And those are all the negative side. When we look at the positive side, because as a country we boast a vast majority of fisher population along the maritime states, and we earn several billion dollars of export revenue out of exporting seafoods, and we cannot simply ignore a resource which is very well available in our waters. So that is how in 1980 the jellyfish fishery was started by entrepreneurs along the Indian coastline, with mostly following the Indonesian method of processing. And as of now in India, the 4 species support jellyfish fishery: Crambenula annandale, Crambenula arseni, Ketostylus perisi, and Rhopalema hispidum. And we are proud to present this, the Crambenula annandale jellyfish, which was described by our first director H.S. Rao, still is valid, and it is support a vibrant fishery in Indian waters. So that we all from CMFRI proud of this, that the species is still a livelihood supporting variety. And about 500 to 1,000 million Indian rupees annually, and a conservative estimate shows that the fishery is happening in Indian waters. And here also 2 distinct swarming conditions we experience. Crambenula annandale is found exclusively on the east coast of India, and the white color one, and the Crambenula arseni, which you have seen along the Villinum coast also, the chocolate color one is restricted to west coast only. And this Crambenula annandale by far the superior variety in Indian condition, and because of its crunchy texture, that is most preferred by the exporter. So that is much sought after variety. And Rhopalema, actually Rhopalema, there are many species. Rhopalema esculindum is the topmost variety among the Rhopalema for export, but in India we have only Rhopalema hispidum. Nevertheless, this is also getting importance, and Ketostylus perisi also a good textured jellyfish, and that is also available. But Ketostylus perisi and Rhopalema hispidum is very much restricted to Gujarat waters, so processing is taking place only in that area. So distribution, very well defined demarcated distribution of all these 4 jellyfish in around the Indian coast, western east coast, needs to be explored further. What makes them to available in a certain locality continuously? Why not in other areas? Because we need to harness much more revenue from these resources also, because that offers good scope for the livelihood of small scale fishermen. And when we estimate the landings, a case example of Andhra Pradesh, and I don't have a pointer, otherwise I would point it out. In 2017, 18 and 19, when we compared, actually Dr. Mark has questioned why we do not have a time series data. Sometimes the fishery is not at all operational, and that makes us, because the land it will be very much available in the sea, but may not be available, the fishery may not be operational. Even now what you see for the case of Crambenula arseni, the resource is very much available in the waters, but there is no fishery because of no export is taking place. I will come to the end of this presentation about those issues. And month-wise variations of jellyfish landing, if you look at that, fishing seasons in Andhra Pradesh begin in March and end in July, and this also a slight variation occurs year to year. That is the inherent character of this jellyfish swarm. Interannual variability is so high that we cannot expect the same thing to happen year after year, and sometimes even in other parts of the country, as we have a nationwide monitoring program, and in other areas even the species composition also varies. which one would dominate jellyfish ecosystem, so that are itself varies. And the average monthly landing in 2018, which was estimated around 8,000 tons, in 2019 the same has drastically reduced to 300 tons. So when we look at the economic part of that, the total operating cost and gross revenue and all has been shown for the 3 years. That shows clearly that how erratic the fishery is, and not only the external conditions, especially the export market conditions. In the ecosystem itself, their availability is highly fluctuating. The operational cost details and cost and return analysis has been done by one of our scientists who is an expert in the economic analysis. That shows that in all the 5 landing centers in the Visakhapatnam district of Andhra Pradesh, the jellyfish is providing a better use of capital and labor productivity and proved to be an economical for small scale fishermen. So though this is a highly seasonal fishery, and fishermen, especially the small scale fishermen, this is an additional revenue and livelihood opportunity for them. So this resource is a very much appreciated resource by these fishermen along the Andhra Pradesh coast as well as in Gujarat coast. And when we look at the Gujarat coast, that is the longest coastline in India, the small scale seasonal fishery involved 2 species, as I told you, and there are 2 important places of operation in Gujarat coast. One is Jakayu and another one is Okha. And 2 seasons we have seen, November to December. Actually, in along the Indian coast, the winter blooming conditions is very much prevailing in Gujarat coast. Even now, there is a fishery is operational. We have received a video from the processor from Gujarat that we will be putting at the end of this presentation. And April, May, also there is a fishery in Gujarat, that is during the summer months. So winter and summer months, both the fishery is very vibrant in Gujarat coast, and about 100 million Indian rupees of trade annually takes place. This is only a conservative estimates, as already admitted by our Indian workers, that we do not have a monitoring effective mechanism in place, because these are all in infancy stage. It is upcoming and highly erratic. So a monitoring network, maybe this gathering would give a recommendation on that, and that will be followed up in the further sessions, and maybe in the next jellyfish bloom symposium we will be able to give a better picture than this. And when we look at the landing statistics of Catostylus parisi and Jakayu fish landing centers, you can see that the total wet weight landed at Jakayu and target landing days from Jakayu all are shown, and how it varies from month to month and year to year between 2018 and 2019 shown in this graphical representation. When we look at the Catostylus parisi at Oka fish landing center, similar to that, in November, you have the number of vessels employed from Oka is very high. That is winter bloom conditions, winter fishing, and especially in April, again, the highest number of fishing vessels is operated from Oka for that fishery. If we look at the activities relating to utilizing jellyfishes, you have a small video, and you can see that how it is collected by a small scale fishers operating along the Gujarat coast. Catostylus parisi species involved in this fishing. You see the bell is cut and just simply dropped in the ocean, so only oral arm is taken. So again, unlike the Sri Lankan condition, I do not know whether our question is there, and there the whole part of the jellyfish or entire jellyfish is utilized, but that is not the scenario in India. Only oral arm is used. And when you look at the jellyfish processing, that has a very lengthy process of 15 to 20 days time, the cleaning starting from the cleaning stage and ready for export, it takes 15 to 20 days of processing. As already indicated, alum is extensively used for drying up this highly water laden tissues, more than 90-95% is water, so that the alum gives the crunchy texture that's why alum is used. But anyhow, that is biologically unsafe metal, and so maybe in future the alum free processing methods would be advocated for the Indian fishers also and processors also, so that the export market is continued without any disturbance. And when we look at the problems and the way forward, the fluctuation in demand in the export market, because primarily in India, jellyfish is not at all consumed, though there are some amateur chefs along the Indian coast, they are showing up in a lot of YouTube videos that how to use jellyfish in the Indian cooking style. And but that is all a very novel attempt only in the restricted to media. But as such, there is no consumption of jellyfish historically, even traditionally also. So that makes us that we to depend on the export market entirely. And recently also what happened, even you can see now there is no Cambrian arsenal fishery, and it is simply thrown, and because of the lack of demand from China. And the seasonal interannual variation of jellyfish swarms needs to be studied further, and especially in Korean waters, and especially in certain Chinese restricted bays, Rhopalema esculindum is sea ranged, and to sustain the fishery. Maybe in futures, maybe because we are looking at jellyfish as a resource, so high value species can be sea ranged. Such a initiatives also in futures we may able to take to sustain this fishery. And what happens, in India as a fishery management practice, closed fishing season is practiced between 15th April to 15th June and the east coast of India, and it is slightly different on the west coast. So during that time only the jellyfish blooms. So what happens, you see, for the recruitment drive we are giving fishing ban, but that time only jellyfish blooms. So naturally what happens, the release the eggs and larvae would be the food for the jellyfishes. So it is better to remove them from the ecosystem, so that a fishery is sustained, as well as the recruitment cycle of the fish fauna is will be enhanced. And as I already initiated the discussion, that umbrella is discarded, and umbrella bell is discarded, and oral arm only retained. And we need to have a practice and even a species where the whole body utilized for the processing. And as I already stated, the alum free processing needs to be introduced. And Cambrian arsenic is not favored nowadays because of its color in the export market. And so that's why the fisherman is not nowadays harvesting and allowing it to go. And the most preferred variety is in Indian condition Cambrian anandeli. And thank you for the for the person listening of this.
Any questions?
Video.
Thank you very much for a nice presentation. You report the catches as landings. Do you have CPUE data? Do you have any idea of the number of fishers involved in collecting those landings? And if you do, how do your CPUE data look by comparison?
Yeah, as such, though we project it as a fishery, so including all the components of, because as a fishery institutes we have been using these analysis, fish stock analysis, these methodologies for fishes, but we yet to adapt this strategy for jellyfish fishery. We have started somewhere from 2020, though this project we initiated in 2017. Initial capacity building went on for 3 years. By 2020 only we got an idea how to collect data for this. Anyhow, the data is there, and definitely we will come out with such a suggestion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just add, so being the director of CMFRA, we have the methodology for all other commercially important species, but jellyfish fishery being very recent, it's in a very beginning stage, and so we don't have any methodology for the CPUE for jellyfish. So probably we may evolve, we will develop, and we will just develop and go ahead with that one, the course of time. Thank you.
And actually, one process
Issue, otherwise we would have gone for it. And that too fishery also we have to because we collect the diversity 1600 species of fish. So out of Indian coast finfish including elasmobranchs and teleos, and out of that we collect data on for the stock assessment, landing data, everything now from on species level of 860 plus species.
So we'll begin.
So adding some more species and with no, but like from we have jellyfish, fish as a fishery emerging as as fisheries. It's only from it's a recent this thing. So from 2013 onwards, we started adding that also to that. Maybe in the course of time, we will evolve, develop a strategy for that and go for it. So because it may be required, because sustainability is a major keyword of CMFRA's research activities. So that is that we may take up in the course of time. Currently, we don't have. We are handicapped with this information, but whereas I told you, almost 860 species. We have even data collection methodology is also if recognized by Food and Agriculture Organization, the FAO data collection. And recently we have come out with the marine fish stock status of 135 stocks of Indian coast. So based on biology data. So that proportion is also being done by us, and we generate policy documents for Government of India and for the coastal states as well. So this will also be gradually added. So see, one of the project components in the last meeting, what I had a meeting yesterday and day before yesterday, was a new unconventional or non-conventional emerging resources. So this is one of the groups, like this one like jellyfishes are one of the groups. So we'll take it up. Thank you.
Actually, the publication which was recently released, sir, it is available in our CMFR ePrints. It's an open access repository. I think ePrints.
ePrints, PRINTS at CMFR. EPRINTS at the rate CMFRI. ePrints at CMFRI. All our publications are available online.
Yes, sir. Actually, mostly this data collection, sir, we from small scale fishers who are operating sourcing and these vallams. So we find it very difficult from trawl fishery sector. That is the largest sector in India. The reason is that mostly they go mid-sea discards. They don't bring to the shore, especially other than Gujarat. No other states fishermen in trawl fishermen bring jellyfish landing. So that makes the data collection difficult. So our data is mostly based on the small scale fishermen who operate sourcing as well as Vallam Katumaram. This is a sector which provides us data. And again, another important thing which I presented below before coming here, that the Indian coast, east and west coast, is very much influenced by Western India coastal current and Eastern India coastal currents. So it is reversal takes place. The Western India coastal currents brings higher salinity water into the Bay of Bengal, and in reverse during the northeast monsoon, the Eastern India coastal currents takes the low saline water into the Arabian Sea. So the species composition and the species distributions and all depends on these coastal currents. And as such, the phenomena of stock, the concept which we have for fish, and the animal which is having metagenetic life cycle, even because the bloom is happening only for a brief period in months. So maybe to check out the methodology, we need some time to develop on this, maybe because it is a problematic organism because unlike vertebrate, it doesn't stay. It in unfavorable conditions, it becomes a polyp and it settles down. and it becomes a podocyst. So stock as such, I don't think so. There is a stock status of this. It's very other than in Chinese waters, it is not there, and maybe we need some methodological framework to deal with it. Maybe we will develop on this and come out with some solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Sess. So we already surpassed our time by 1.5 hours probably. So that was anyway we have that was to encourage the discussions, and so as we conclude this insightful session, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all our speakers for their invaluable contributions. Your presentations have shed light on the vital role of jellyfish fisheries on the socio-economic aspects of the people of this region, including India and Sri Lanka. I also wish to thank our chairs, Dr. Biju Kumar and Dr. A. Gopalakrishnan, for conducting this session very smoothly and encouraging the discussions. Also, my gratitude goes to Dr. Surya S. and Dr. Divya, who has acted as a rapporteurs. And not but the least whomever has acted as a technical support for this, arranging the chairs and morning, like many people have helped us, and the audiovisual guys, and Ravinesh for the photography, and all other people of the Kerala University and ICS CMFRI to help us to make this event a success.